as I say, she's obviously got to sort Stefan out. So,
all right, okay, let's kick off then. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's joint enabling committee meeting. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Steve?
I haven't had any apologies, Chair.
Okay, declarations of interest?
not that I can see, no.
Minutes of the meeting held the 2nd of March. Here comes
Yeah,
Rebecca.
all look fine.
Oh, we got a baby.
Hello, Stefan.
Sorry, I was on mute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's just coming up for 3 months old.
I think I've missed the whole pregnancy. I didn't even know you were pregnant. Congratulations. Oh
That's
my
baby
goodness.
Stefan.
You turn your
that's
back
really
for 5 minutes.
wonderful.
You turn your back for 5 minutes and the committee to another member.
That's it.
That's delightful. Yeah, flipping heck.
Right, are we all happy with the minutes of the last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
fine.
Right, okay, we sign them off. Next item on the agenda is Future Generations Report 2020.
We can throw Helen in at the deep end.
Yeah.
Over to you, Helen.
Hey, yeah, it's on the agenda. I'm not sure, who put it on the agenda, but how fantastic. I texted just before joining the meeting, my colleague was texting me about work, and I said, I've got to go. I've got the Mumbles Community Council meeting at 6:30, and I said, the FG report's on the agenda. She thought I put it on. She's like, well done, you. I said, it's not me. Somebody's put it, how fantastic. So obviously it's a very long document. I'm not sure the context of it being on the agenda. So do you want me to just kind of give a bit of just 2 minutes of what it's about?
Yeah, I think it kind of started from our recognition that we have to produce an annual report. And so I think we felt it would be really useful if you could just give us a bit more of an overview about it and maybe some pointers as to what we should be focusing our annual report on, which would be enormously helpful, I'm sure, for all of us.
I think first thing to say, I think I think you'll have tons to say in your annual report, and I have mentioned a few times in work about whether we could do a case study of Mumbles Community Council. I think you do so much, not just in the kind of governance in terms of how you're structured with your committees and now sort of having this on the agenda and being keen to have training on the Act. But I think all of the activities that you do anyway, the environmental stuff, the plastics, the kind of local economy stuff, there's so much, I think, that you, I can hear a crash in the kitchen. There's so much that you, as a council, are doing. So I think you'll have tons to say, and I'm more than happy to kind of help with the annual report. So the FG report is something that by law we have to do. It has to be done every 5 years. And the intention is it has to be done exactly 1 year before Senedd elections. The idea being that the content of the report then influences kind of public dialogue or the manifestos of parties. So by law, we had to finish it on the 5th of May. And last year, that was a real nightmare because we were basically finishing it as we went into lockdown, and various staff had COVID, and we were working through the night to get it finished on time. It was really quite stressful. And over the years, we've done enormous amounts of kind of involvement and collaboration to feed into what the content. So obviously the biggest thing to say is the flaming report's ginormous. I think it'll be one of those documents that end up on desert island discs. Will you take the Bible or the works of Shakespeare or the FG report to the desert island? So I think that is because kind of in the legislation that is the WFG Act, it stipulates that we have to cover certain things. So we have to cover certain things, and then obviously Sophie has the areas that she has an interest in. So that kind of takes up a huge chapter kind of on topics like planning and transport, which are just enormous in their own right. So the idea is that we don't sort of anticipate that many people will read the whole thing, because you'll have planning officers reading transport, procurement officials reading chapter 2 about procurement, Welsh Government officials reading chapter 2 about how they do things. So if anyone's read the whole thing, I would honestly take your name and plaster it in Word, because that is an achievement if you've read the whole thing. So in terms of what this means for the council, so this is just totally off the top of my head on the spot. The thing, there's certain, I mean, what I could do is I could sort of flick through with someone and sort of try and pull out the areas that I think would be of most relevance. But I think there'll be certain bits of the report that will be a lot more relevant to you than others. For example, as a council, you have responsibilities in terms of planning or community development. So the sections on planning, or the section on under the goal, the well-being goal of cohesive communities or globally responsible Wales, those sorts of sections, I think there might be more in there that would be relevant for you as a community council than, say, other sections on, the kind of chapter 2 stuff, the kind of really big governance, Welsh government stuff. So I think I don't mind, as an action, working with someone or some people to sort of look at some of those sections and sort of pull out bits that you think would be doable for the council. But I also think there'd be a lot of things in that report that you're already doing, and that would also be worth saying. And I think in your annual report, making that link to the FG report is a fantastic thing to do. I don't know how many others will do that. So I think it's fantastic that you're seeing the link. I think there's a lot of detail there. But I'm happy to work with any number of people to sort of look into different sections, and it might be that different committees pick up different chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if we could sort of share it out a bit would be really good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think in the first instance, I think probably the best thing to do is liaise directly with the clerk, and then we get some sort of template, some sort of structure, and then we can direct it to the particular committees to cover particular bits, because obviously it's handy at the moment because we've got the committees mirroring the themes of the Wellbeing and Future Generations Act. But like, if you could just work with the clerk to get some sort of template, some sort of framework of how the report is going to be structured, and then depending on the particular headings, we could direct those to the particular committees and the particular chairs of those committees. Because I think otherwise I'd be scared of us ended up duplicating stuff and doing stuff.
One thing I should have added, sorry, which I forgot to mention, is that when we published it, we were obviously really aware that it was long and that could be a source of criticism. So over the past year, we've been producing bite-sized versions. So taking a chapter. So I think we've published about 3 so far. So we've done planning, for instance. So we've got bite-sized versions, which really, really summarise down very, very short what we essentially are saying in the planning chapter. And then we've got versions of them. So we've got a version of the planning bite-size for planning officers. So that's written in a very technical planning officer. This is what you need to do. We've got versions for different audiences, which are of different complexity or pull out different themes. So that's another source of information that could go to some of those committees because they're more accessible.
That sounds really useful.
Yeah, and also I think it'd be useful for us as well, because I think it would be useful for us as an exercise when it comes to compiling this report, that we put together sort of some bite-size versions of our report that we can put on our website, for instance.
Good idea.
I think if there's an overall bite size, Helen, that would be useful, which kind of covers everything, just a future generations report in a few lines, if you like,
I do think we have got that, so I can easily send that on.
Yeah, I think that would be a great starting point, and then we can, when we put the foundations in place, as Martin says, we can start pumping it through social media and websites and things, But I think it'd be good to have something that we can click through to on our website. Just give me a little, you know, somewhere where people don't glaze over, kind of thing. You know.
Yeah, I know it is. And I had to edit most of that report, and it is. My back was in spasms. Honestly, Dave will tell you my back because it was so flipping long. I'd be really interested to anyone's feedback. You know, we're going to be producing another one in 5 years' time, and any feedback now or in future committees, you know, I can take back and would be interested to hear.
Yeah, great.
Carrie,
Yeah, I mean, I think we can, as a council, we can actually use this as a really good marketing opportunity. You know, as Pip said, if we have it really cut down to really sort of just short, nice, neat statements, you know, we can really use that. And then, you know, when people are saying, why aren't you doing that? Right, you can say, well, you know, if you look in the wellbeing report, you can see we are responding to, and we've just got something to kind of hang those things on when we're being questioned about why we're doing things.
Yeah,
Great.
sounds good.
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 Lovely.
No, that's me. That's thank you.
Thanks very much, Helen. I think, like you said, Martin, the best thing to do is work with Steve first, I think, and then we'll take it from there. Otherwise, we could all be chipping in
Happy
stuff.
for that.
It's all gonna.
Yeah.
We can all be chipping in
Happy for
stuff.
that.
It's going to duplicate itself, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that would be great. Yeah, if we could have like templates for each of the committees and obviously subcommittee, because planning obviously is a key part, as you say. Then I think everybody just feels a bit daunted, you know, because as you say, you look at this vast report and you think, oh God, you know, where do I start?
Yeah.
But if we have it in like, right, you know, I'm environmental committee, great, right. I can clearly see now which bits I've got to work on, and, you know, community and social will be clear on what their bits are and so on. So I think that's a brilliant idea.
No problem.
Have we got a deadline for this? Have we got to produce it within a certain deadline, or we?
Steve, I think there is a date, isn't there?
Yeah.
You're on mute, Steve.
Sorry about that. I've got so many bits of screen up, it's hiding under the mute button. Yeah, there's so many different reports from different acts and so on. I mean, the latest thing is something that's coming in next year, but we're going to be doing this year, which is to do with the 2011, the big legislation document I send out to a few weeks. So that I think everything will replace everything, and we'd have to incorporate our response to the act in that document. So we're going to be doing a draft one this year, ready for next year when we actually have to do one.
Okay, lovely.
Okay.
Anybody else got anything to say on the future generations report?
No, I think we got something to go forward on now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's just important we kind of have it as an item on, you know, each agenda, and then we can make sure it doesn't just kind of slip back again, and we can, you know, get the different bits being fed in from the different committees, so we can try and pull something together.
Lovely. Thanks, Helen.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Well done, everybody.
You're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to stay, or you can leave. It's up to you.
Yeah, she's an official member of our committee.
Stay in then. Right, the next item on the agenda is the draft vehement policy. See additional document folder.
Yeah, I looked at that. Looks eminently sensible to me.
yeah, you don't see anything wrong with it? Anything to say, really?
Do we have to do the full council to adopt, or do we make a recommendation for us to adopt it as full council?
Yeah, we make a recommendation.
So are we happy to make a recommendation to adopt that vehement
Yeah,
policy?
yeah.
I think it's
That's an action point then, Steve, for the next.
nice
full
and
council.
short, nice and clear, easy
Yeah.
to understand. Job
Job
done.
done.
Can I just explain something? Because I brought one thing up with Paul and he explained that wasn't the case. But this scenario I brought up was a committee where they're budgeted and all good intents. They've got a quote for whatever it was, and for some unknown reason, something had happened and it had gone up 20% by the time they had to do it. All their other headings were sort of, they wanted to spend. And I was saying it seemed unfair that they would have to take Rob Paul to pay Peter, sort of thing. And he says that that's not what will happen in practice. Though it might read like that, that's not will happen. So
I think, you know, because when I read it, I thought that was kind of pretty much covered by sort of section 1.3, which basically says, you know, there will be unexpected costs.
Yeah, it's the 2.3. It says environment should be considered in the following order. And
that bit that you're looking at, yeah.
And that's a bit which, as I say, but the intention behind it is not to punish someone who's prudent and spending their money. If you say, you know, which is not what.
You sort of turn to another committee and say, look, you've got loads of money. You've been very sensible with your spending. Give it to us because we're hopeless.
In layman's terms, that's correct.
So so on the minutes, it's to recommend this to the full council.
Absolutely, yeah.
Item 6 is the draft councillors' remuneration policy. We were waiting for Paul Egan's report on this. I think that's in the last minutes.
Yeah, this is what I mean in relation to this is Paul Egan's report has come in now. He's making some recommendations in relation to reducing the amount of committees that we've got.
Martin, it's not come in. It's not come in. A draft came in.
A draft, yeah, okay.
Checking. So it's.
And we haven't. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
But we still haven't had it then, so we can't.
No,
we're still waiting for Paul Egan's report.
Well, that's what I mean. What I was trying to get at really is that we're in a position with this now where we're sort of in between, we're in an in-between sort of position really. And the main issue as far as I can see it is in we've got this money, this remuneration money to pay for 5 committees, is that right, Steve? And we've got 6 committees?
Yeah.
So how do we just tide ourselves over in the intervening period?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
JEC would probably have to make a recommendation to full council about what you think is the best.
Well, my feeling is, and I don't know what other people feel on this, is I know not all committee chairs do take that remuneration. I've got my own remuneration within that. Is, you know, my feeling is that we have the £500 remuneration available to all chairs of committees, and we fulfill that within the resources that we've got.
I think the difficulty is that from my reading of the report, and I think Paul agreed, we're actually not allowed.
Yes. Well, this is
we
what
can't sort of say, oh, well, we'll give another £500 anyway. We're not actually allowed to do it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm seeking the advice from the clerk from, is that if we've got the scenario where we've got all the chairs wanting to take that £500, what pragmatic way have we got around that?
We haven't, because it says 5. There's 5 people.
We'd have to change the things, is there?
So we couldn't split it that for that. We would have to. I say we're not going to be able to change the legislation on it, the recommendation of remuneration panel. So we're stuck with the fact that we're able to give up to 5 people the £500, and it's just so happened that we chose the chairs on the first occasion, because at that time we had 5 chairs.
5 chairs.
It was easy.
Bill,
so you're going to have to decide whether a committee, you know, like the JEC isn't worth giving it to. I mean, that would be the noble thing, of course, wouldn't it? Let's go.
Well, I sent the phone back saying I didn't want it anyway, so it doesn't matter. So it's not.
Well, problem solved. Phil.
This may not be allowed, but could we just divide 2.5K by 6.
No,
Uh,
sorry, you can't, because you have to pay it to the individual.
That's the problem I was highlighting. Phil,
Yeah.
because really-
and it has to be actually published in line with
Yeah.
the remuneration policy.
So if Gareth is happy, then and we go that the JEC, because it's a bit different as a committee, that it isn't applicable to the chair of the JEC. Are you happy with that, Gareth?
Yeah, I've already sent Paul back saying I don't want it. So
Okay, then we'll
Oh, there we are then.
Problem solved.
Sorted.
because JEC is like a mix of all committees, which is a bit
Yeah.
unfair.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. It's a mix of all 5 other committees. So
Yeah.
And you got the council helicopter anyway, haven't you, Gareth?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, of course I have. And the boat.
On the top of West Cross.
And building a ski slope up here. Helen, maybe Helen's got some info we can help us out with there.
I just think it sounds really, really prescriptive. They're only allowed 5 committees. I think that's absolutely bizarre. Is it to stop like hundreds of committees or something?
Well, yeah, and to be honest, I'm quite happy to discuss this with you in at some other point, maybe, Helen, is that because this is something we've gone back to One Voice Wales with at the moment, and they seem to be coming back saying, well, you know, you've got a lot of committees. Maybe you should, yeah, well, this is it, I know. But, you know,
But we
you know,
did only have 5, Martin, until premises decided to be a standalone
Committee.
Yeah,
rather than,
establish themselves as a committee.
The
going back,
Sorry, Chair, just to interrupt her, the committee thing, although relevant, is a bit of a red herring because the legislation says it's 5 senior roles.
Yes.
yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, we just went for it, you know, the obvious thing for us
Yeah.
was that the 5 people who, you know, had sort of those roles happened to be the chairs of the 5 committees.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Problem solved, though. Move on.
Move on.
Okay, so we're going to settle on the 5 standing committees
Yeah.
and exclude JC. That sounds fine.
Yeah.
Good.
The next chair, JEC, might be so happy about it, but I'll take it along with
Well, we'll cross up when we
I
come to
was
it.
just going to say that. Are we recommending that for this year only? Because we're
Yeah.
doing it on Gareth's generosity rather than there being an actual
Well, no.
logic behind it.
Well, yes,
Right.
we're also, as Gareth pointed out right at the very beginning of this, we're waiting for the One Voice Wales report to come back as well, and that might have connotations going forward.
So in the interim, to make it so we compliant with the regulations, JEC won't get it, and you've still got the 5. So we're done then.
Yeah.
Covered.
Okay, but yeah, I think it needs to be made clear in the minutes because you know what people are like, that this is purely an interim
Yeah.
arrangement until such time as we get the One Voice Wales recommendations and we can review it at that point.
That's
Yeah.
it. We decide then after that report comes
Yeah.
in.
Lovely.
Right.
Item 7, Mumbles Tennis Court Community Consultation. Who's put this on?
I think it was just, we were, you know, the working group is supposed to be working to this committee and I think it was just to see if what was
Rebecca.
happening.
Rebecca?
Rebecca probably
I
has
just
a
want-
comment on that.
I just think we need a bit of clarity about where the working group is working through, because Community and Social Committee think it's working through there. And indeed, there was an action from the last community and wait, just to check I'm not going insane. We're talking about the Mumbles Tennis Court and Bowls consultation.
I think
Mumbles Tennis Courts Community Consultation, yeah.
Yeah. So there was an action from the last Community and Social Committee meeting to kind of really light a fire under that because residents think we're doing it. We need to do it. So I understand that there's a second meeting of the original group of people who got together with Alain imminent. Steve can probably give a bit more information on that, but I think it would be really helpful at this meeting if we can just agree which committee this is being run through. And my instinct, I actually don't mind. It kind of makes sense for it to run through Community and Social because some of the findings will be relevant to Langland and Langland sits with me. But I could go either way really, as long as we just know.
Carrie?
Yeah, I think it came from this because the budget for consultations is held with JEC. because it
Right.
was held with JEC, so all committees can access it for consultation. So, you know, but there's no reason why we can't now delegate it to community and social,
Good
except
idea.
that maybe it's something that a wider group that's represented by JEC might want to be involved in. I don't know.
Chair, there's also the training element. It's not just consultation.
Yeah.
Alan was
Yeah.
training us on the method, so
That's true.
and
Okay.
training is obviously this committee. Just so the premises think it's under their committee as well. So there's
Oh, well. Martin. you
Well,
on
I was
mute?
just-
No, you're not.
No, I'm not on mute.
No.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of a bit of sort of clarification because there was particularly the last meeting sort of got cancelled at the last minute because there was a bit of confusion as to who was going to the meeting. I didn't get an invite to it until right at the very last minute, which I couldn't make in the end. But I've had a bit of an exchange with Alain just before Easter and today, to be honest. And this echoes the point that Rebecca was making. I think we just need a bit of a clarity as to what the group is for and where the group sits, really. And I've asked Alain to circulate an email in relation to that, which will be circulated, I think, to all councillors, just to sort of make it clear, really. And like, if there's any sort of discussion, then we could have that discussion there. But, you know, everything that's been said here, I can't see any particular problem with.
Carrie?
Yeah, and also I think we just need to be clear, because there was suddenly the waters became extremely muddied by documents that were sent out that were related to Langland tennis courts. And I think we were all completely confused as to exactly what it was that we were actually supposed to be having a working group for. So I think we need to get a very clear parameter around, are we looking at all tennis courts? Are we just looking at Mumbles tennis courts and the bowls green? You know, there's three different options there.
I totally agree, Carrie. As I sort of said, I think there's a bit of mission creep that crept in there. And, you know, fair play to Alain, you know, he probably doesn't then appreciate all the sort of subtleties of our different groups and different projects and sort of stuff like that. So that's what I was saying, because when the last invite went round, it was all a bit unclear as to exactly what the role was. So, you know, I asked Alain if we could just sort of step back a bit, regroup, have a bit of a reflection of exactly what it's about, what it's consulting on, define that, and then go forward from there.
Lovely.
That
Rebecca?
sounds very sensible.
Yeah, so just to clarify my previous comment in light of what's just been said, my feeling is that the results of this community consultation on the Mumbles tennis courts will be relevant for the Langland tennis courts, but they are not the same thing. I am not suggesting a merged consultation. I think that's way too complicated. But I think, you know, basic questions like what are the most popular sports in Mumbles, that information is relevant for Langland.
Yeah.
But I'm not asking about Langland. So I just want to clarify that.
That's what I mean. That's what I think the muddiness has crept in, the mission group has kept in. But yes,
the consultation is on the Mumbles tennis courts stroke Bowls Green, not Langland.
But whatever comes out of that obviously will be relative not only to Langland, it could be relative to anywhere else within Mumbles, obviously.
Yeah, so Steve, is there a rescheduled date for the working group meeting?
I'm waiting for Alan to let us know if it's free. So hopefully we should hear the next day or so.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so for now, we just sort of keep it as it is, see what the working group come up with from this next meeting, and then kind of take it from there.
I think we all wait to see Alien's email as well. See what it says.
Okay,
lovely.
Fair enough.
Item 8, marketing report and newsletter update.
Yes, I thought Claire was coming to this meeting. Or is she lurking in the background somewhere?
No, she had to give her apologies. She had to take her son somewhere. But Pip and I are doing it. I'm just going to put it up and Pip is going to talk to it.
Oh, lovely.
So I'll just share the screen with everyone.
Can I just let you know before Pip launches in that I am sitting on a volcano that's about to erupt with my son here. And so I may need to leave at very short notice. And if so, my apologies.
Right, thank you.
And you are on mute, Phil, if you want to start speaking.
Page 1. Marvelous. Okay, so can we go on to the next page? Yeah. Basically, this is a report that Claire gives to us every JEC. One of the concerns that we've got is that at the moment it doesn't mean a hell of a lot because it's not compared to the previous period. So could you go down one, Steve, and I'll just give you an example. So for instance, the Facebook insights, it's pretty self-explanatory. Mike has put down below the complicated things like organic and engaged units, what that means. But it doesn't mean a lot because it doesn't compare to anything. It doesn't show what uplift we've created. And this will all become, when we get into April to June, this will mean more because we'll see how we compare. Mike is going to come and give us a breakdown, a detailed report of this, with your permission, Chair, at some stage, because it'd be good if you can come and talk us through it. Are you okay with that page, everybody? I want to read through it. Twitter again. Things like, do you know what impressions mean? That kind of thing.
Not a clue.
Impressions is the total tally of all the times a tweet has been viewed.
Right.
Okay, so you can see Go Underhill has been super successful there.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that Facebook was very much focused on the skate park.
Yes.
And Twitter focused on it. It just shows our demographics.
Yeah, it does.
How they use different social media.
Yeah.
And why I suppose it's so important that we make sure we do engage with both.
Yeah, but that's very. I agree with you. That's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
Quite a difference on the two. I thought it might have been the other way around, but I thought Facebook was a slightly more mature, and I thought Twitter was a more younger. But
I'm with you there, Pip. I'm surprised that it's that way around.
Yeah. Instagram again. Please keep numbers tidy.
Which is a yet another different one.
Yes. Instagram again this is only for a month, as you can see.
Oh yeah.
I think this will get quite big on Instagram because the sort of the youngsters that seem to have taken a shine to Instagram, and I think we might see some skate park stuff on there, moving forward. But again, as I said, it's not really that doesn't give us a hell of a lot of information at the moment because it's not compared to anything, The website is a session. Do you know what a session is? It's
when someone logs in.
Yes, exactly. It's a contact between two servers, basically.
Right.
And do you know what a bounce rate is? It's basically a bounce rate is if you go and look on a website and you come off it straight away without looking further, that's the bounce. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm told 63% bounce is actually quite good. It's normally higher. So the lower the bounce rate, the better.
Sure.
Okay.
So sorry, Pip. We seem to have an awful lot of new users. Does that mean we had very few users before?
Well, I think because this report.
Is that like individual different users looking at it rather than people who are completely new to looking at it?
Yes, I think that's exactly what it means, Carrie.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, I can't answer that one.
Don't worry.
Well, I can. We've got a marketing meeting in the morning. I'll ask the question.
Brilliant. And as I say, if Mike can come and actually talk us through it when we've got the next quarter's figures to match, that would be really helpful because a lot of this I'm I'm a little bit vague on quite what it means.
Well, Claire and I had a conversation just before the meetings. I only just quickly saw it, and we got Claire's husband Matt involved, who was an IT a bit of a wizard, and we were struggling to get through it, to be honest with you. So it'd be great for Mike to come and talk us through it in more detail.
What's
Brilliant.
quite interesting is that the average time spent by a single.
Yes, I was looking at that. It's quite.
7 seconds. It's a
That's
long
quite
time.
a long time.
Yeah.
It is, I'm
Mm.
told.
Yeah, no, that's quite impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, website insights,
No
social,
idea.
social is social media. That's what's driven from social media. Organic is an undriven look. It's not guided by anything. Organic
Right.
means a natural, somebody's plonked onto our website of their own, it hasn't been taken through, there's no click through.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that the organic search visitors are the ones who actually spend most time on it.
Yes, interesting, isn't it? And
Yeah,
referral is a click through.
right.
Pip, organic includes search engines, doesn't it? So if
It
you
does,
find
you're right.
Google-
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good
well-
that we're getting that feedback from that.
And what is interesting is at the bottom, the figures at the bottom are quite interesting because it shows what pages have been visited the most, and we've been looked at the most. Index is the
That is so weird. You
Yeah,
see,
I know.
I would think that the councillors page would be the least interesting one to look at.
I agree.
Looking for contact details, isn't they?
I'm not sure if we should be flattered about that or whether we should be
Yeah.
people are coming after us. I'm not.
I think we should make it
Hard to
private.
know
You
which
can't
way
see
to
it.
take it.
I just put a false address down basically, and
You should put a privacy clause on the councillor once you can't get access to it. That's
Yeah. Stalk us, I'm going to stalk us.
yeah. So apparently our site is performing very well in terms of traffic and technical insights, speed and bounce rate, etc. I'm just reading this. It's delivering consistent traffic numbers, and time spent by each visitor is very encouraging. Which that's the point you made, Carrie. And new visitor numbers are high, meaning our reach within the community is greater via our website. So I think
Excellent.
we certainly getting our website on the map, and I think that hopefully some of our banners have helped and so on.
Yeah.
So we're talking about actually just doing a bit more work on the site, weren't we, Steve? At our last few meetings, and that's kind of ongoing. Mike's doing some more work on it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, PR. This is just self-explanatory. Carrie's fame,
Yes.
which is
Yeah, I know. I
very
seem
good,
to,
actually.
seem to suddenly be the person they ring up when they want to comment.
It was very good, very, very good. So
Thank you.
our press release regarding borrowing approval for Go Underhill was read on Breakfast News. So that was good. Carrie's 2 interviews.
3 interviews. I had a third one as well.
Yes, did you? That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I was asked back on to BBC Radio Wales breakfast programme to talk about, it was a sort of an item on tourism, and they had someone from Aberystwyth Community Council, Town Council, and me talking about, how COVID has affected tourism, what issues there were around people coming in. So yeah.
We'll get that mentioned on the next one. Well done.
Yeah.
Right. Well done. The rest is obviously press releases. The Rob Stewart meeting seemed to have gone down well.
Very well. Yeah. I mean, I think it was really a really good PR thing to actually invite the members of the public to be able to come.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people there, and I think most of them went away probably feeling more kind of warm towards us perhaps than they had before.
Yeah, great. I think you had 80, Martin said you had 80 odd people. at one point? Was it 80 odd? Or Steve, did you say that?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I really thought it was an excellent public engagement event, like it really
Yeah.
was. And I think it gives us a model of things we can do in the future, to be honest.
Definitely.
And it just goes to show, I thought, more than anything, that the public are interested.
Yeah.
We think so often that people are apathetic, because to be honest, this is I work in public engagement, and like one of the things that always gets to me really is people always say, "Oh, the public are apathetic, the public are apathetic." They're not at all, really. It's just that it's very difficult for people to engage.
Yeah.
Something like that. I was bowled over, to be honest. But I was expecting, I don't know, at the most about 20 or 30 to see so many.
Sure.
And people getting engaged, and quite so much good positive feedback from it as well. Like it's great.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
So I just sort of think that gives us a sort of model of what we, when it comes to public engagement and our forward-facing engagement with the public. I think we should do more of it. Like.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it really was a good model, and it's something, perhaps like, I don't know, every quarter or something, we should try and have that kind of thing.
To be honest, I got back to Rob afterwards, and Rob himself said, how great it was.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And he said that he would be happy to do it again.
Brilliant.
And I think it would be an idea, probably not at the moment with everything else that's going on, but to invite Tonya and maybe Rebecca.
That's just what I was thinking, that we've got that opportunity, and I'm sure we'd get the same kind of response.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Obviously, we've got the elections at the moment. So
yes.
That sort of stuff in the future, and I really think it's a good format, and it went really well.
Excellent.
Okay, and then of course the newsletter, which you all know about, tremendous amount of work put in by Claire and Steve as well. Steve's done a lot of work on this, a little bit unsung on this one, and done a super job on it. And Claire's worked so hard, and there were a couple of hiccups we had with distribution. There was a few of them found in the wrong places, but she did get back and nail that. She knew exactly who'd done it, and so on. I personally, I thought it looked great, and I think for the general public to know what we're about, know what we're doing, is so important. And as a councillor, I learned from it as well, because we don't know everything about everything, do we? What we're doing. It was interesting as a councillor to learn. I learned some stuff just by reading it, and I thought it was good. I don't know what you thought, but I thought it looked very professional.
Yeah, a great format. I like that kind of small format. I thought it worked really well. The pictures were good, and it was not too much written stuff, which at the end of the day, people just want exactly what this was, a couple of paragraphs about each story. That's all they need.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought the color was nice as well, the colors, the colors and so on. So so that
I thought it was really good as well, but I was really struck again for like the third time in a row about just how much perhaps unnecessary work Claire and Steve need to do. Because they're like basically struggling to kick us as councillors off the bottom to give them content. So I was just wondering whether going forward, do we need to be encouraging councillors to be writing things as they happen, and have a bit more of a culture of, as things happen, they go on the website, so that when it comes to newsletter time, all Claire has to do is a sort of scroll back over the last 6 months, 3 months, whatever, and pick out the things, and then sort of sense check that with us, rather than all the chasing. And I'm as guilty as anyone of doing that. So it's not a criticism of anyone. I'm just thinking of a system that might make it a bit easier in future, but it was excellent.
I think that's a great point. I think because we have a marketing meeting, I sort of experience every Friday morning how much Claire and Steve are doing on this, and getting the stories together. That's a great point, Rebecca. I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I think it's, and I suppose it's sort of part of what I had kind of hoped would happen from this item which I asked to have put on the JEC agenda every time, which is reports and requests.
Yes.
If that was being done properly, then this committee would actually be gathering all those stories up,
Yeah.
because they would get proper reports on what was going on from each committee. It would all be there, and all we'd have to do is just hand it over to Claire, and she'd have all that basic information there at her fingertips.
Yeah, exactly. It would save so much time.
Yeah.
Martin, is there any way are you allowed to mention? Can you mention that at full council? Could we just revisit that? Is that allowed, or?
Sure, you can, put that, because again, I'm sure I could mention that, and we will be discussing the social media policy, and I think this is all part of our communication strategy, and managing our front-facing image, really.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I could mention that. This whole sort of thing, really, because again, that's what I'm sort of trying to cover. It is about getting people aware of the responsibilities as well, but it is all about trying to coordinate and manage how we get the information going out there, really.
Yeah.
And exactly that, as you sort of say, I think that's all part and parcel of it, because if we are, as Rebecca says, collecting the information going forward, and we've got that in mind, knowing that the newsletter is coming out at a certain point, it's all about getting that in place, really. So yes, I'm sure we can put that into full council. I just wanted to say as well, I'm going to ask Steve. We've had quite a number of positive emails about the newsletter, and I'll ask Steve to send those round to all the councillors, because I think it's good when people get this positive feedback. And then the one I always like this when it does happen. It happens quite negatively most of the time, with people calling me in the street for this, that, and the other. But, I had a couple of people, 2 people to be honest, calling me over the Easter holidays, actually stopped me, and people I didn't know, and say, they must have recognised my picture from the thing, because I'm in disguise with my hat and glasses on. Purposely, I will say. But people called me and said how much they thought, how good and professional they thought the newsletter was, and how much they appreciated being made aware. And it's just great to see again, I thought.
Yeah, brilliant.
I've had nothing but positive.
I've had the same. I've had people locally around me who've actually said, "Oh, I really enjoyed, getting the newsletter. There was, well done. You're doing some really good stuff. It was a really nice publication to be able to look at." So yeah, it definitely was getting good feedback. I mean, there's inevitably the odd person who pulls something out and says, "Oh, all this fancy stuff you're claiming, what about picking up the dog poo?" But
well, you're always going to get something there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the other thing as well, just to take from it, is now we're beginning to build up this, it's the wrong phrase for this, but corporate identity. People recognise by our look now, by the logo, the colour, the print. It's all uniform now,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think is very important. Pip, you know this in the field that you work in. It's all about managing sort of corporate identity, so that people know. And to be honest, I really think that we need to start doing this as well with our videos and stuff like that. The stuff we got on YouTube, same sort of thing. Some sort of strapline thing right at the very beginning, so people know straight away it's us.
We just we are going to do that.
Yeah,
we've done that, but there is a thing on the front of all the videos now.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, but it's just, and we sort of put them all back.
Different, you should say, so we can tell Mike, but there's an ident, if you like, in the front of all the meeting videos.
Yeah.
I think that's it for this. Is there anything else, Steve, on this?
Okay.
Going forward, yeah.
Okay, looking ahead again, you can see what's on there. Have we got the stickers for the litter yet, Steve? Do you know?
But the
For
little
the bins,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maddie was chasing frantically.
Sure. Okay. And how is Maddie with us for much longer?
No, no.
23rd of April, Pip.
Oh gosh, we're going to miss her, aren't we?
God, we are. Yeah.
Okay. Well. Oh, just on the last point, we've got the NHS Frontline Workers Day, and we're working on that. We're coming up with some ideas. Depending, we're just leaving it a little bit longer so we know where we are with regards to COVID.
Sure.
But I think that's it, really.
All good. All
Yeah, all
positive.
good
right?
stuff.
Great stuff, Pip. Great. Thanks a lot.
So again, we're meeting again tomorrow morning. So that's right, Steve, isn't it?
That's right. 10
We've gone to Wednesdays now, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Nobody. Thanks, Bill.
Great.
Thanks, Steve.
Brilliant. Thanks, Pep.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, exactly.
Item 9, evaluation and training. We got training coming up at the end of the month, me.
Yeah,
What?
I asked for this to be put on. I just felt we need to just, it's another of those things that slips off the radar otherwise, that that Alan is still doing an ongoing evaluation of the council and the work of the council as a whole. And I just think we need to just make sure that that doesn't get kind of, pushed aside by these smaller kind of individual consultations about specific aspects that, we are, and maybe, I don't know if Alan's done a kind of work plan for it, Martin, at all.
I'll have to check with him on a work plan for the, but I had I've had quite a detailed exchange with Alan over just before Easter and today, really, and about how we sort of get everything sort of working together. And to be honest, especially with the last email I had from Alan, and as I said, I rate Alan a lot, and he really seems to have got hold of the brief. So I'll chase him up on this, but I'm very confident he's got the brief in hand, as it were.
Yeah, it just maybe would be useful if he could, put a brief report together or something for us, so we can just see kind of what the direction is that
Okay.
help hopefully in actually making all the other councillors kind of work towards those sort of targets that he's working towards.
Yeah, well, yes, and I have asked him to circulate this email that he's formulating at the moment to all councillors, to be honest.
Right.
So that, I don't want this sort of thing, people to think that this one group is doing this and it's nothing that's all to do with the rest.
Exactly. It's got to be the whole council has got to be engaged with it.
Yeah, and to be honest, that was one of the little things I was a little concerned was happening with this mission creep I was talking about before. Because people tend to think, if it's not directly to do with them, it's not their responsibility. But let's keep everybody in the loop, as it were.
Sure. Yeah, and training, which I also put on, because obviously we had quite a big program of things that we were going to have training on. And then, it all kind of obviously got lost in COVID. And I'm just conscious that there are some quite important things that we had agreed it would be really useful to have those sessions on with different people, and I just don't want to forget. And obviously one of them was Helen actually doing a thing on the Future Generations report to the whole council. There was something that Ben was going to do about place planning, I think it was, or change, I can't remember, sorry, I've lost track of what it was. I think, Rebecca, you were going to do something, weren't you, on equality?
Yeah.
There was some, we had quite a range of things, and of course they all got kind of pushed to one side, and I'm just conscious that we shouldn't let things like that just fall by the wayside. And now that we're kind of getting back into operating And, you know, a lot of these things could be done very successfully on Zoom. They don't have to wait until we can all be squashed into our very small office together.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they aren't forgotten, as Carrie, as you know, Carrie, but just to elaborate on that, there's also the training from One Voice Wales.
Yep.
All these things have been scheduled, and then for one reason or another have got pushed back,
Yeah.
you know, partly because you have with all your committees and subcommittees, there's quite a lot of time on councils, and so actually fitting in things is quite hard, you know, in terms of
Sure.
But just to elaborate on the training from One Voice Wales, it seems natural for us now to have that May and June, because we have 2 new councillors with the May elections.
True.
It seems sensible to wait. So I'm waiting for One Voice Wales to do their May and June listing of training, and obviously we can discuss that perhaps at the next JEC. Which
Okay.
ones you want to do bespoke, where it's just to you. And I suggest we definitely need to do the sort of code of conduct one again, because of various things, and from reports from the Ombudsman and so on. But you might, as I say, you might want to do some that are just our councillors, and some we encourage the new councillors to join in the existing training that everyone's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, good plan.
Make it an action point for next JEC, Steve. Put on the agenda for next JEC meeting.
My problem is I'm trying to do an evaluation of what councillors' trainings we've done, and I send out an email and I get a reply from 5 out of 16. So
I know.
It's kind of really hard to fathom who's done what.
Yeah.
You know, and come up with a sort of coherent plan based on that. So.
Yeah, I don't know how, I mean, I don't know how we get councillors to actually respond to these things, which are really important. You know, yes, maybe Helen's got an answer.
It's not a very advanced idea. I just wonder, you know, if people are not replying, can you do a round robin in the next full council meeting? Where, you know, that's what I often do. I'm always chasing people in work, and then I say, right, next team meeting, let's do a quick round robin. In 5 minutes, I got everything I need, but it's a right pain otherwise.
Yeah,
do that.
Thanks, Helen. That's brilliant.
Yeah, probably worth doing. Yeah, and just pinning everyone down and saying, right, what training have you done?
Yep. Okay. Item 10, financial review. Steve?
I couldn't find any on OneDrive.
Did Paul send you anything, Gareth? Because he often sends them.
Did he send me some? I think it was because he's been on leave of me. He sent me some emails today saying
Paul,
sorry. He's, apologies because he's meant to do something, but he's only just come back off leave today, so maybe he didn't send any out.
I know he's done the Smugs one for tomorrow, but that's not particularly helpful here, is it?
I don't think he did send me anything, Paul. Stephen. Normally, I have to go back and have a look.
Yeah, he may not have done the annual, the final one for this quarter yet, so it might be worth deferring till next month and having a
yeah, I think because obviously it's the last one was the year-end one, so as you say, he's probably not actually had a chance to finalise that because of being on leave.
No, I've gone back through my emails now. There's nothing to be sent from Paul. So
just to elaborate on that, Carrie, I spoke to Paul about that today, and because we're a larger council now, we have to do our financial reporting in a slightly different way. Which means everything that we commit during this financial year that we've just had has to be in the accounts, even if it's not paid. Whereas was ins and outs during that year. So it's going to be delayed a little bit longer because we're having to wait for invoices to come in for stuff we've ordered pre to the 1st of April and so on.
Right, yeah, because always before you could just kind of stop at the 31st of March, couldn't you? And anything that hadn't come in then, you could just worry about in a year's time.
Yeah, it's just that nice and simple system, but we're having to mature,
Right.
as we grow as an organisation.
Yeah.
Because of the levels of precept
Mm.
and so on, we have to do it the new way.
Right. So
Well,
yeah, I guess we defer it to next month then, and give Paul a chance to draw breath and
Yeah. And we got item 10 twice, but never mind. That's item 11 is reports, requests from committees.
Can I go first? Because I'm going to then shoot off, if that's
oh,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think from us, I've just put together the results from the survey on the West Cross play equipment. So there's an article that should go up on our website and social media to share that. And we did write to some residents that were very local to where we're thinking of putting the play equipment. And so we will send the results by letter to them as well, just for consistency, because we wrote to them in the first place, so we'll write to them again. But apart from that, Underhill is just ticking over. To my knowledge, Langland is just ticking over. So there won't be anything major on that. And same with the skate park. So our big three are just kind of, yeah, nothing major to report. Is that okay?
Yep. You can go sort your baby out now.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Anybody else?
Yeah, do you want me to environmental? There's a couple of things sort of really similar to Rebecca. We obviously put out the survey about the public toilets, which went out sort of linked in with the newsletter. And Steve, I know, has been gathering the results from that, which we're going to report on tomorrow. So obviously there will be something the Environment Committee will put a report together on that to see where the main interest and the main recommendations are from that. SMUGS project, which, as you know, is lottery funded. Two things about that. One is which is sort of directed at I don't know, Martin, or well, just generally. We would like and we assume Alan would be able to do it, to have a small evaluation of that project. So that's obviously an additional cost over and above what he's doing for his general one. He's happy to do it. He's been down, looked at the site. He's been involved in the steering group, but it might it's just to say, are you all happy with us asking him to kind of add another bit of work on top of what he's already doing?
It'd be worth doing, wouldn't it, to get the full input and outputs? We got it all documented.
Well, I think everything that we do, we should evaluate, because otherwise, why it's doing.
Yeah, because we've got, with the lottery funding, there's some quite specific things we have to evidence. So, a good way of doing that is to have someone like Alan who has that overview of it all and can sort of, give us those recommendations. So,
I can't see any problem with that. It's just we've got to take full council, really.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, lovely. For SMUGS as well, we obviously have to do lots of publicity. I was just really sort of looking at your views. Do you think we should have a kind of specific, I don't know, website page or Facebook link or something for the SMUGS project? Or do you think we should just kind of use our sort of main website on the basis perhaps it would be seen by more people? I don't know what we're kind of, I'm trying to decide what I think is the best way of going about it.
My initial feeling on that, bearing in mind what Phil has said before, is in relation to managing corporate identity. Like, I know in the university we're very sweet on this sort of stuff, is keep it in some way on the main website.
Okay.
Probably as part of the environmental thing, or into the main website, because the problem is then you end up fracturing your corporate identity.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's why I wanted to check, because I thought, what we don't want to do is end up kind of having a whole separate thing that's kind of running. And as you say, we should be benefiting from the fact that the majority of people are looking at the main website. And if we can link it in with that, we're likely to get more more publicity that
more
way.
engagement, definitely. And
Yeah.
also, you know, it all contributes to people not getting confused. Is this a separate project or something like that? Like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, well, we've got an operational group meeting tomorrow, so I'll probably be coming back to this committee or, you know, to Pip about how we best kind
Yeah.
of, you know, put that kind of promotional.
Yeah, no problem.
Obviously, it's all got to have the lottery funding logo and, you know,
Yeah.
all that stuff on it. So it's you know, to maybe get some ideas from Mike about how the best way to push that forward. And of
Yeah.
course, we're going to be losing Maddie, although she has already asked if she can stay on the SMUCS operational group even after she's gone to work for Wildlife Plus. So you know, I'll still be kind of looking to her to help us out with things like that.
Good.
Okay, that was me.
Nothing from any other committees, Steve?
None of the ones that I service, but I do Rebecca's and Carrie's committee.
Yes.
So they've been covered. Premises, there's nothing from premises. So.
No. Oh, well. No info, we can't do anything about it. And that is the end of the agenda. So therefore, the end of the meeting.
So, that's what we'd like to see.
Thank you
Well
very much.
done.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
coming.
Bye-bye.
You will
Bye-bye.
come tomorrow about the sheds. See you all tomorrow morning, bright and early.
Yeah, we'll be there building the shed.
luck.
Anyone who wants to come and help,
Yeah.
more than welcome to join us.
Bye all.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Follow up with Steve.
Carrie, don't forget to take pictures for the website. Social
We
media.
will take pictures, don't worry. I was there ready today and then we had to get called off because of snow. So we're hoping the snow has stopped by tomorrow morning.
Brilliant.
But yeah, it's a shame because Ruth was actually had a day off work today, so she was able to be there. But of course, she's back in work tomorrow. So so we promised we'll send her regular updates on how it's going through the day.
Brilliant. She'll be so pleased when she sees it, won't she?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we will. We'll take lots of pictures and do a nice little, you know, report on it with lots of pictures to put up on the website.
Brilliant. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Well,
Thanks. See you tomorrow. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.